Welcome back into another edition of College Golf Talk. Steve Burkowski, Brentley Romine with you. I'm getting ready to go to Hilton Head in a couple of days for the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate. I know you're going to be there as well, Brentley, but a little pivot, little trip south, Palm Beach area for the Cognizant Classic. Good to see you in a PGA Tour Media Center.
It's been a long time, but I'll be in one next week after the Darius. Really jam-packed travel schedule for me these next 2 weeks. We're at the Cognizant this week. We got Darius Monday through Wednesday, and then I'm getting in a car and getting back home, going to Bay Hill Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, little Disney trip on Friday in between. The only guy in golf media that I'm not busier than is Steve Burkowski. You've been gallivanting all over the country, covering basketball, covering golf. You were in Chicago, is that right, last Friday?
It was. I got the call Thursday afternoon, wondering if I could get to Chicago on Friday for Saturday college hoops game, little A10 special, Loyola Chicago, George Mason. I said, heck
Sister
yeah.
Jean.
Yeah. So I got my picture with Sister Jean. Tim McCormick and I went over, introduced ourselves to Sister Jean, 104 years young. She led before the opening tip-off the entire arena, Gentile Arena, about 5,000 sold out there on Saturday in prayer. And she prayed for everything, but also prayed for a win, and the place erupted.
Did she pray for birdies?
I don't know. It's a good question. It's funny. I didn't realize maybe that's a bucket list item. But once she got wheeled in by her handler to her spot, Tim McCormick and I got right out of our seat, went right over, and she could not have been more gracious. So that was a lot of fun to do. And I've been enjoying my college hoops in between golf here and there. So fortunate for those opportunities. You're going to catch up with Ian Gilligan, University of Florida standout, who won in Vegas. That's coming up on the second half of our show. But we're going to kick it off with a little live golf talk from the standpoint of the enigma that is Anthony Kim. More than a decade away from the game, there had been rumblings, rumors, conversations. He's teeing it up this week on that tour. I'm intrigued. Boy, he had a lot of talent.
You covered him more than anybody too. In college, you were doing shows when we still had College Central shows every week, going and hanging out with AK in the mid 2000s. What was that like?
One of my all-time favorites. He was a character. He, as he would probably admit, learned some things along the way, made some mistakes, got suspended for the better part of a fall semester. And if memory serves, when he was reinstated that following spring, he went out and won his first two tournaments by like 10, 15, 20 shots combined. A pure, gifted golfer. You always wonder if more time was put in, but I shared it with you. I go back to those College Central days, 2007. So you have to be a real diehard to remember those things. And one of the highlights, the last segment of those shows, we would have a campus tour with maybe a man and woman from the respective golf teams. And Anthony Kim, when we made our Oklahoma run, was going to do it for the Sooners and for us. And unfortunately, my father had prostate cancer, and I was going up to New York to be there for the surgery. So we handed it off to our capable staff. And I was at Sloan Kettering, New York City. My dad's on the operating table, and I see my producers calling me. I'm thinking, okay, he probably has a question for me. And I pick up the phone, and I say hello, and I get, oh, you're too big time to come to Norman to hang out with me. And it's Anthony Kim. And I explained why I was not there. And he said, I know why you're not here. I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of your father. I'm thinking of your family, sending thoughts and prayers. We're looking at a 19, 20, 21-year-old kid. My father is getting prostate cancer surgery at that moment. For me, he was good in my book, will always be good in my book. And I'll button it up by saying a year or two later, he's on tour. He's sort of this flavor of the week. Who's this up and comer? And my dad, who I lost last year, said, "How's that Anthony Kim kid? Nice guy?" And I told him the story, and my dad got a little choked up. He said, "He's good in my book too."
What a story. I mean, it's
Yeah.
stories like that because, when we cover the game at these lower levels like college and junior golf and covering U.S. amateurs and U.S. juniors, like I remember us both being at Martis Camp in 2012 for Scotty Scheffler when he was just a little shaver beating Davis Riley in the final. It's amazing kind of developing those relationships early and getting to know these guys before there's so much around them when they turn professional, and just those little, writing a thank you card or sending a text like saying, "Hey, thank you for a great story," or whatever. Like those things we definitely keep with us. And, that story that you just told about Anthony Kim, like Anthony Kim will always, as you said, like he'll always be one of your guys because, he took the time to kind of make it personal and reach out. But I'm just intrigued. Like, I don't know how he's going to play. He could shoot 79. He could shoot 71, 69, 68. Who knows? But I will say nothing will surprise me. And talking with some of the guys who were on those, not the Oklahoma teams that he played on, but mid 2010s when AK was in hiding, he would show up frequently at the Sooners team facility in Norman. And there was one story I thought was pretty funny, and I'll share it real quick. The year that they won the national title, so that was the 2016-17 season, a couple of the guys show up, and Anthony Kim is hitting balls at their facility. And he's got a Mickey Mouse T-shirt on, Dodgers hat. By that time, he had the sleeve of tattoos and the long hair. And I guess he hadn't played in about 2 years at that point, and he had TaylorMade send him a new set of irons and a driver. So he only has a driver and a 3-iron through pitching wedge. Half of them are still in the wrapper, and he says, "Hey, you guys want to go and play 9 holes?" So they go to Jimmy. They play 9 holes. He hits every green, shoots 2 under par, beats everybody, and half the clubs were still on the wrapper. And one of the guys on that team told me it was like he had been playing every day for 5 years. So he's 38 years old now. He's a dad. Time may have passed him by, but it's going to be fun to watch. I know you're going to tune in.
I literally just talked to my wife, and we were talking about Anthony. She's like, "I've not watched a second of Live Golf," and I said, "Well, I haven't watched much more than that either." I'm intrigued. He could be playing the Suncoast Tour one day event down the road. He's special. He's different. He always marched to the beat of his own drum. Didn't care for the most part, seemingly, what others thought of him. And maybe that was a positive or negative, but yeah, I'm intrigued. And Anthony Kim, truly one of my favorites for a variety of reasons. So it's going to be interesting to see how 2024 plays out for him. Quick look at some of the action on the women's side. Kansas with a 6-shot win over Oklahoma to win the Westbrook. So the Jayhawks rolling along a little bit here in late February, early March. Scary to think, Brentley, we're less than 2 months away from conference championships. It's happy leap year, by the way. So if you have a birthday today, you sort of get hosed the next 3 years. But it's March 1st
young
tomorrow.
Forever. You stay young forever.
Is that like, what was it, Benjamin Button, the curious case of Benjamin Button, right? Didn't he go old to young? Oh, I don't know. I just know he went old.
I thought he was a time traveler.
Yeah, one of those
time travel.
Things. Yeah.
Speaking of time travel, if you could, real quick, if you could time travel back to one college golf tournament, what would it be?
Wow. I've been to too many of them for the last 25 years. I guess Tiger winning in 96 at the Honors.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Apparently, he shot 80 in the final round that year.
He did. Yeah, big lead. I think weather was an issue. Wind, something. I want to say Rory Sabatini came in second. Now we're really going on a sidebar. There was a college event, late 80s, early 90s, Arizona State playing in the final grouping. Phil Mickelson, Manny Zerman, his high school buddies at Arizona. Phil's at ASU. if I'm paraphrasing my memories and recollections, Phil in the last fairway asked for relief for some casual water. Manny Zerman said, "Nope, I don't see it. Play it as it lies." Making up the numbers, but we'll call it 170 yards, 6, 7, 8 iron. Phil says, "Okay." They went back and forth, no relief. Phil holes out for eagle from the fairway to win the tournament. Rick LaRose, Rick LaRose, the longtime Arizona coach, who's on my Mount Rushmore of storytellers, said, "Hey, Manny, next time Phil asks for free relief, give it to him." So just to maybe see that interaction would have been a lot of fun. What about you? As we're
I want to go back
to rails.
We are, but we can easily get back on. But I want to go back to the Bulls Bay event where Titleist, the bull, got loose and started running around the greens and fairways and wreaking havoc on college golf for the better part of an hour before they corralled him. I think that would have been a fun one to be there and write the story, just putting in all the color and everything that you observe. That one would be good. But in terms of the one that we all talk about, 2012 Riviera, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. That would be cool to relive that again. But we can get back on the rail. We can get way
we're
back
trying.
On the rail.
We're having some fun. We got the Darius
next week.
And I didn't even realize this morning I got my swinging cocky hat on, courtesy of Kaylin Anderson. Appreciate that. And for those that didn't know, I started my professional career in Columbia, South Carolina, out of college for 4.5 years, but thrilled to go back to Hilton Head. You look at this field, probably top 2 or 3 of the spring season in terms of strength. You've got South Carolina. You've got LSU coming off that win. Wake, banged up, injured. Can they rebound? I mean, I think there's a lot of wonderful storylines, and I'm going to keep circling into LSU. I said it on the Golf Central hit a couple weeks ago. We discussed it here on the pod a few days ago. I think they're the outlier. They are, forget the rankings, 6th, 8th, 10th, whatever they are. You've got Ingrid Lindblad. You have LaTonna Stone. You have Carla Tejeda. I'll double down on the fact they remind me of the Florida men a year ago. The big 3 built for this, last hurrah. If they can keep going front and center here, I'm intrigued to see if they can continue to build on what they did at the Moon Golf about 10 days ago.
Well, they're now 4th in the country, so the rankings.
I knew the ratings
are catching up. I mean, honestly, they've looked. You could make a case that they're the number 1 team in the country right now, as you said, and you add Anya Donegan to that mix. Whoever the 5th player is, we'll get a look. I'm sure we'll get a look at Jordan Fisher next week. Maybe Edith Hertzman gets her way into the lineup after contending for much of that Darius Rucker last year. If they could get anything from that 5th spot, like, they got a big 4. So I really am high on the Tigers. But anyone can win this tournament. I mean, there are stars and studs like throughout these lineups. I wouldn't be surprised to see any one of these teams lift a trophy. But let's play a little game, Burko. Let's do should win, could win, probably won't win. We won't say won't win because we don't like to be that mean on this podcast. But who are your 3?
Ooh, who should win? I'm going to say South Carolina. Granted, Hilton Head's 2.5 hours from Columbia, so it's not a home game. But yes, they've got a very good lineup. They have success there. So I'm going to say they should win, and that's an easy default. Who could win? I'll go right to LSU. I think LSU could win and very likely might win or will win, however you want to do that. Which team would, quote unquote, struggle to win, would need to, I'd say Wake Forest right now, not knowing the injury situation of Mimi Rhodes, who had to withdraw the last couple of rounds at the Moon Golf. Carolina Shikara, who won this individually a couple years ago, she's battling some nagging injuries. So I think they're looking to hopefully just get 5 healthy players together, is what I'm hearing through the grapevine.
Yeah, and they didn't have their best stuff last year at this tournament, and so it's another loaded field like the Moon Golf. I'm with you. They could finish 10th very easily. Like, But I would say should win LSU. They're loaded, and they are actually the defending champs. I thought South Carolina won last year, but that was Matilda
Yeah,
the individual.
yes, Tilly won, but you're right. I think we got suckered into that. I just went along with your fake news.
It definitely is fake news. I would say here's a squad that I think is only going to continue to get better as Hannah Davis gets more comfortable in college golf. I think Auburn, Megan Schofield played really well at this event last year. They could win. In a team that has a lot of work to do, and I think not just next week, but the entire rest of the spring, is Mississippi State. They lost a lot of veteran presence, experience from last year's team that made the NCAA championship. They have to be more than just Julia Lopez Ramirez. She's a top 10 player in the country, probably top 3 when she's on, but they got nothing else right now. They have one other player ranked in the top 100, 3 players ranked in the top 200 something. Like, they need to fill out that lineup quickly. Otherwise, they might not even make match play at the SEC championship the way they're going.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one to watch. I know we both will enjoy being there as we pivot from the women to the men. Again, a few minutes away, Brentley's going to catch up with Ian Gilligan from the University of Florida. So you want to hang around for that. PGA Tour U rankings are out. New number 1, Christo Lamprecht. We were waiting. We talked about it. The results are now paying off. And with Christo and Michael Thorbjornsen from Stanford separating themselves, not going to say anyone 3 through 10 can't make a run. I have a feeling Christo is just going to continue to extend this lead.
I mean, he's got the height, he's got the power, and he's a lot healthier than Michael is. I'm still not fully convinced that Thor is 100%. He could prove me wrong, but it's hard to play golf when your back's bothering you. And so I think Christo, I think we'll see him on the PGA Tour this summer.
Yeah, it's going to be the dynamic within the whole race to the postseason. But we've had Christo on the pod, great young man, and obviously a physically gifted individual. The headliner, Vegas, Southern Highlands, one of my favorite events. Jim Delaney, his entire crew, always does such a great job. And how about Oklahoma? The men, Ryan Hybl, the Sooners, find a way to get the job done. Auburn was right there, finishing second. They're back to number 1 in the country. And to me, those are 2 huge statements for the Sooners, which seemingly, looking at the scores, the second day was very tough. That's sort of their staple. Roll up their sleeves, find a way to post the score. And then when they had to shoot a good one, they held off Auburn coming down the stretch. But for the Tigers to go out there, be right in the mix, maybe the tandem of the Tar Heels and Commodores legitimately has to be discussed as a 3-headed monster in terms of the best team in the country.
Yeah, and I think it was important for Auburn to get J.M. Butler back in the lineup. Didn't play well, tied for 64th, but he's got to get some confidence back. And if he can, they might be the number 1 team in the country. I mean, Brendan Valdez continues to play well. Jackson Coyvin's going to be the player of the year. Or freshman of the year. I'm ready to call it already. But Oklahoma, right? I've been off the bandwagon for so long. I'm finally ready to jump back on Burko, or jump on for the first time. I'm a big believer in the Sooners. I mean, these guys are tough kids. They don't let a lot phase them. Jay Summey is becoming a guy who was a solid contributor as a freshman last year. He could be the next star of this team. Drew Goodman is playing like the leader that he should be. I mean, they didn't even have Luke Kluver in the lineup, who was arguably their best player in the fall. So, again, I'm with you. 2 huge statements by 2 really good teams. But I'm willing to throw Texas into that mix, Burko. A solo third. They finished 10 shots back of first. You get Tommy Morrison, Nathan Petronzio, the SMU transfer, both top 10s. This was a team.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Whoa.
I tried to hit the mute button. Couldn't find it.
Rookie move. Couldn't find the mute button. It's hidden in the StreamYard. You got to really know where to look. But this was a team in Texas that was shot after coming back from Hawaii. I mean, they had no confidence. from what I hear, John Fields was very frustrated. I don't know if he quite read them the riot act, but it seems like he cracked down a little bit, tightened the screws, got these guys a little kick in the butts, and they responded. So Texas could be a team now that we're no longer worried about. Maybe they're finally starting to grow up and become a team that could make match play again.
North Carolina finishes 7th. Didn't
Oof.
necessarily see that. Pepperdine, good start. They fall off. Arizona State, 14th. And Wen Yi Ding, welcome to college golf. The tremendous first couple of events. He struggled out there in Vegas. So you can take a lot from this tournament. Again, it's just 54 holes in 3 days, but teams trending in the right direction. And, I still will keep leaning into Vandy. North Carolina, you had a round where Dylan Minetti played awful. Then the next day, Austin Greaser played awful. If you're going to win it all, those guys need to play well every day, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, they didn't have a single player finish better than T29. That's and they had all their guns. The Ford twins, Peter Fountain, also in the lineup. Again, it's easy to maybe just chalk this one up to a bad week, and I'm willing to do that so far, but certainly have shown that, maybe exposes them just a little bit, that they're not invincible. But I'm still trying to figure out Burko. It seems like Vanderbilt, no matter what they do, they're just stuck at number 3 in the rankings. They just can't seem to climb. I don't know what they have to do. I don't know if Auburn and North Carolina have to get rid of their men's golf programs, but it seems like Vanderbilt is just kind of being jammed a little bit by the rankings so far.
What that number 3 might mean? That they're going to win 3 matches in match play at the national championship. So those numbers,
I'll subscribe to that.
Yeah, I won't get caught up in that individually. Ian Gilligan picks up medalist honors in Las Vegas. With that, some perks come along the way as you're able to catch up and spend some time with the recent winner of the Southern Highlands Collegiate.
I'm pleased to be joined by the man of the week, the man of the hour, Ian Gilligan, Jr. from the University of Florida Fighting Gators, fresh off a huge victory, a big-time victory, Ian, at the Southern Highlands Collegiate in Vegas. A little bit of a home game for you, just down the down the state, native of Reno. But first off, congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, super stoked.
And we also have to you're celebrating for another reason too. You just turned 21. I believe it was yesterday. First off, happy birthday. And then how do you celebrate a college win in a 21st birthday? Can you maybe peel back the curtain just a little bit for us?
Yeah, obviously it was pretty special. Going into the week, I knew it would be pretty cool to have a team win or an individual win and be able to celebrate my birthday too. But obviously with the tournament of that caliber, it's your expectations. It's tough to be trying to expect a win. But yeah, obviously to be able to win and have my birthday, it was pretty special. And me and the team had a fun time celebrating, and it was really fun.
So your coach, J.C. Deacon, he's kind of like the mayor of Las Vegas. He played at UNLV, was an assistant there. He knows all the good spots. Where does he take you guys after your big win for dinner, or did you head straight to the airport?
Yeah, well, no, we actually had a lot of time, but coach just asked me where I wanted to go, and I didn't really know where to go, and so he was like, we'll drive down this one street, and then at first we wanted to go to P.F. Chang's, and then it was packed. So then we went to California Pizza Kitchen, which it's pretty good. I like it a lot. It was a good way to celebrate.
So California Pizza Kitchen has probably the best frozen pizza as well. The barbecue chicken frozen pizza. You go to Publix, sometimes it's on sale. You can buy one, get one free. The best for those who sometimes don't like to cook. It's a good quick meal in the oven. Well, let's talk about your win in Vegas. I mean, big time field, as I said. North Carolina's there, Arizona State's there. Winnie Ding, the star freshman, who's #1 player in college golf. You got off to a hot start. How were you able to continue to keep everyone at bay and ultimately hold off Jay Summy and company for the win?
Yeah, I think going in, I had been playing pretty good golf in tournaments in the spring. I was close to winning our first 2 events, the Seabest and then our home event, the Gator. And then in the tournament, obviously, like I started off pretty good with the 5 under. My putting was really good, and I think that kind of helped me throughout the week because especially the second round when it got really windy, it was tough to hit the balls close. Greens firmed up, so you really had to just kind of stay patient and just do everything you could to get the ball on the green, and then if you're making par, you're really happy. But I think kind of my putting was really the key this week. I was able to make a lot of key par saves, and then when in that second round when it started to get tough, I made a lot of nice mid-range putts that kind of kept momentum going, and kept the round together. But I think that was the key.
Did it remind you of home a little bit? Just the type of golf course, maybe some of the conditions, the climate.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's definitely a similar scenery with the desert style in Reno. But the course was I hadn't really played something like that, just with how firm and narrow the fairways were. It was really tricky to find fairways without hitting pretty much a perfect tee shot on some holes, just because there's a lot of holes where you're forced to shape it a lot to find the fairway. And then when the wind started picking up, the fairways were just really firm and fast. So, that really put a premium on really being patient. And, when you're in the rough, you got to just be thinking front edge to front third and then just be okay with that. But yeah.
When did you realize that the winner gets a PGA Tour exemption into the Shriners Open later this year?
Well, I knew kind of going into the week because when Yushin did it last year, obviously he got to play in the PGA Tour event in the fall, so we were all watching him in the fall. So I knew going in, which is kind of a little bit of an added pressure during the week. But it's pretty sweet. I'm really looking forward to it.
So what do you tell your family after you win and knowing that they're going to get to watch you at TPC Summerlin here in a few months? And it's not your hometown event, but it is a home state, kind of a home game for you. But what was that conversation like? And have you got a chance to imagine what it's going to be like?
Yeah. And my parents were really excited. My mom really didn't even know that I got an exemption. And then my dad told her, and she was just really stoked. But it's really special. Obviously, I think when you get in an exemption, a PGA event, then everyone's like, oh man, this is a big deal. Obviously winning a college event, but maybe some of the outsiders don't know how big that college event is. But then when you say I got an exemption to PGA event, they're like, oh man, so I had a lot of reactions like that. But I think I've thought a little bit about it. It'll be really cool to be able to play. I played in a Corn Ferry event when I was younger, and that was really special. So I think, even though it was a long time ago, I think that'll help slightly with some experience. But obviously, PGA is a little different, and when you're hitting balls next to players you watch on TV, that'll be pretty cool. But I'm really looking forward to it.
Will it be a emotional week for you, you think?
I think, maybe a little bit, but I think I'll be, trying to compete and I will want to play my best. So I think I'll definitely be, trying to take it in and be pretty excited. But I think kind of knowing that that'll be less than a year. Once it's that week of the PGA event, I'll know it's probably going to be less than a year of when I have to pretty much be competing for my job on that level of golf. I think I'll be taking it pretty seriously. And so, I'll definitely be trying to play my best.
Trying to earn those PGA Tour University points.
Yeah, exactly.
As well. Now, your backstory has been well documented. We caught up last year when you were still at Long Beach State, when you were the #1 player in college golf for a couple weeks. But for those who don't know, you obviously were diagnosed with lymphoma at age 15, a very rare kind, something like 20 kids a year around the world get it. You were a sophomore or a rising sophomore in high school. Can you just take us through the journey from being diagnosed, kind of what the battle was like, and when you were able to kind of ring the bell and become a kid again?
It was definitely a tough couple months. I know my parents went through a lot. It's definitely different when you have to go through it yourself. Right around like the end of my freshman year, and I just kind of noticed some stuff being painful, and then obviously I got a biopsy and they found it was cancer. And then kind of there was like about a month and a half period where they kind of were trying to figure out what type it was. And then finally I had about like 7 months of treatment. And I would spend around like a week and a half in the hospital and then get 2 weeks off. And so, it was obviously not very fun, being in the hospital. But once I was able to hit balls again, because I really wasn't able to play golf for a 2-month period just because of my pain in my left armpit. But kind of right when I did the treatment started, it went away immediately, which was really cool to see. And then I was able to start playing golf and hit balls with my friends, which is really helpful. But once they told me that I was free and got to ring the bell, it was pretty special. And then I was obviously happy to be able to go back to school and practice and play competitive golf again. It was definitely a journey, but it's pretty cool to be able to just be still competing at a high level.
Is there a moment that sticks out that when you look back, gives you the most gratitude for where you are right now?
I think maybe not even that far back, like just like even in the fall this year, I felt like I was kind of struggling. Obviously a transition period from Long Beach to Florida, but I wasn't really getting the results that I wanted, and there was just times where I was pretty disappointed, and obviously knowing it's the start of like PGA Tour U counting. So I knew, that this is like pretty much the most important 2 years that I'm probably going to have, in terms of getting good status. So I think even like close periods, like in the fall, and just being able to see where I've gotten now it's pretty cool. Kind of, cause I was definitely at some tournaments, like after SECs, for example, I just played really bad there and kind of let the team down. I was pretty disappointed. But I put in a lot of hard work. And so it's pretty gratifying to see where I've gotten today, and looking forward to the future.
I'm sensing a little bit of a trend, because I remember your last season at Long Beach State, you didn't make the lineup for the first event, and then you go in and win each of the next 2 times. So there's something about the adversity that you tend to come out better on the other side. But, we talk about Long Beach State. You spent 2 years there. You were runner-up at conference as a freshman, the breakout year last year. What made you decide to leave, and ultimately, why did you settle on, I guess settle is not the right word, but why did you pick the Florida Gators?
Right. Yeah. My first 2 years at Long Beach were really great. I loved everything about it, the weather. We had really good facilities that were really close to campus. But obviously it kind of just came down to the PGA Tour U for me. And just, having like an elite schedule like Florida does, was pretty important. It's just really tough to compete against some of the players when you have a schedule that's just a little bit worse than theirs. And so that was the only reason. But yeah, and then kind of what made me decide Florida was, I really liked the coaches, JC and Dudley. Dudley has so much experience playing pro golf, and he's been really influential in me deciding to come here, as well as since I've been here, I've learned so much through him, and obviously JC as well. I love JC. He's been really good. And then the facilities were really, really close by to campus. And obviously the weather's been very good. I would say that. And then we have a really good dining hall. That was like a nice bonus. That's really close. But yeah, those are the main reasons I decided to come here, and it's been a really great decision.
How much weight have you put on with the new dining hall?
Yeah, I think I put on like at least 10 pounds, but
It's probably all muscle though.
Hopefully it's muscle.
You have a good strength facility there
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, we have a really good trainer who's he pushes us pretty hard. So that's also been really helpful.
What was your first workout like? And I'm sure you probably weren't used to being pushed quite like that. Were there any tears? Did you throw up maybe a little in your mouth?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Our first workout was it's generally pretty like light, but then we've had some if you ever heard of the Echo bike, it's this bike where it's basically just a normal bike, but you also have to be moving your arms. And we've had some brutal workouts on that where pretty much everyone's throwing up during the workout. And yeah, so those are not too enjoyable at 6 a.m., but you get through it, and it's good for you.
Yeah, the price you pay to potentially be great. I texted JC just a little bit ago, and I said, what stands out about Gilly? And he said, the kid works his tail off. How many hours are we talking about every day? And can you give us a little bit of insight on maybe what your day-to-day routine is in terms of getting better in golf?
Yeah, I think it's pretty day to day. But pretty much whenever I don't have class or like I have some other obligation, I'm trying to be practicing or playing. And generally like every night before I have a day ahead of me, I'll already have it planned out. So like for example, like on a Monday, I'll have study hall from like 9:25 to 10:30 or 10:25. So generally
just 5-minute increments. That shows that you're really organized.
Yeah, so I just try and I'll generally just get to the dining hall at like 7, and then I'll eat for like 30 minutes and try and just like maybe do some putting from like 8 to 9:20, and then I'll head to my study hall, and then I'll probably generally have about like an hour and a half or maybe an hour until I go to lunch. So I'll just probably maybe work on chipping for 45 minutes and then head over to lunch. And then if it's a qualifying day or practice, then generally I'll have to head to the course and we'll play qualifying for the rest of the day, or we'll have team practice. I would say that's a general day. And then probably have to do some schoolwork in the night. But yeah, pretty much whenever there's light out, I'm trying to practice. So
there's not many hours for, other things. But if you had to do something besides golf, if you're not doing school, you're not doing golf, what are you spending an hour doing to kind of relax or, just switch things up a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I like to play video games, but like honestly,
weren't you a big Pokemon guy last year? You still
yeah, last year, yeah. I haven't been playing much now, but
there's a new Pokemon in Gainesville probably walking around with it.
Yeah. I'll play on my PS5 sometimes, but I haven't been doing much recently. But I do like video games, and then I like going to the gym sometimes with a buddy or just by myself. I find it kind of enjoyable. So I'd say probably one of those two things.
The telltale sign that you aren't playing enough video games is every time you log on the PS5 and you got to wait like an hour for it to update. That's when you know that you haven't been playing it very much. It's probably no worse feeling in the entire world than that. But let's talk about, practicing and parts of your game that have gotten better. What's the biggest improvement you think that you've made in your game since you've been in Gainesville?
Yeah. I think over winter I kind of made a point to gain some clubhead speed because I just also like noticed I kind of had lost some speed. I'm not sure why during the fall. And then also, I mean, when you play with Christo Lamprecht, like you kind of just realize you probably need to hit it farther. So I played against him at East Lake, and he was just smashing it by me. And I was like, I mean, he just has
With
such
the 2-iron too, yeah.
yeah, he just got such an advantage. And so I got a lot more speed, probably around 6-7 miles an hour ball speed, and that was very helpful. I noticed a difference pretty much right away at the Patriot, and then
Which
I
you
think,
won. You won
yeah,
that one.
and then I think putting also my speed, getting that kind of cleaned up because that was a little bit up and down in the fall. So that's been a big point of focus. And then I think I worked a lot with JC on wedges and kind of using different clubs for shorter distances, which helped flight it a lot better and just lower spin. So when you get on softer greens, it's just dangerous when you're hitting, a lob wedge from 100 yards. And then I think probably one of the final things is like kind of coming to Florida when you're in that Bermuda rough. It's easy to just send balls over the green, which I've done way too much. And so Dudley, he's helped me a lot with that, kind of just using different ways to kind of get more control out of the rough. So, if you don't want it to fly as much, try and maybe hit a little bit of a fade to add some spin. And if you want the ball to jump, try and hit a draw and it'll jump hard. So little things like that has been really helpful. But I think those have been the main things.
Now, for those who haven't paid attention to college golf the last, 15 years, you're following a very similar path of a current top 10 player in the world professionally, and Xander Schauffele, who started at Long Beach State, goes to San Diego State, a little bit bigger of a pond, and then flourishes, plays well in the amateur scene, turns pro, and look where he's at now with a Ryder Cup. How much did kind of coming to Florida now and now having this success this spring, how much has that validated kind of where you are in terms of your talent level? Because it's one thing to do it in the Big West Conference. It's another thing to do it at the Southern Highlands Collegiate. Just how much has that validated yourself?
Yeah, definitely a lot. I think, since I've been here at Florida, like I feel like I've been challenged, pretty much every day by my teammates and coaches. Like I think coach was hoping like from when I came in that I would be kind of one of the top guys. And I felt like sometimes in the fall I was playing below my ability and what he was hoping for when I transferred in. And obviously I was a little disappointed with that. And I think, but now being able to kind of play up to what my expectations were and even beyond it has been pretty awesome. And yes, like you said, it's obviously it feels very good, being able to translate it from Long Beach into Florida and keeping the good play up because it's definitely a lot different playing at, the Southern Highlands Collegiate just because it's probably one of the biggest college events of the year. So to be able to, translate it and just keep up the good play has been really gratifying.
The thing that stands out to me about Southern Highlands Golf Club, very pristine, like perfectly manicured, kind of like another golf course that might host a major championship, Augusta National. Your teammate though hasn't played it. Is that right?
Yeah. He did one really cool thing, Matthew Kress, because so obviously they won the national championship last year. So our coach said that there would be a limited amount of players that were going to be able to go. And he said that Matthew and John Dubois would be playing in at Augusta just because they earned it, which is obviously very understandable. And so so then he said that the upperclassmen are probably going to go, and I was kind of like right on the cut line. And but then Matthew, we had a team meeting, and he said that he wanted to give his spot to me, which I was pretty taken aback by. Obviously, I was like, you don't have to do that. Like, you earned the spot. But he heard that like I had wanted to play as my Make-A-Wish when I had cancer, and they weren't able to do it. So he gave me his spot, and then I got to play, which was pretty amazing of Matthew to do.
How'd you play?
I played pretty good, actually. I shot 2 under, which was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a fun day.
Well, Ian, congrats again. Happy birthday. Congrats on the under par round at Augusta, and hopefully that translates a little bit to TPC Summerlin this fall. But good luck the rest of the spring, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
And for those listening at home or in your car, this is another episode of College Golf Talk. We appreciate everyone's support, and we'll see you again next week.